Sitting here a couple hours after the New Orleans Saints received a beating 34-10 at the hands of the LA Rams, I can't decide what's worse, the embarrassment I'm feeling for the loss today in Los Angeles or the total frustration watching this team play the last 4 weeks. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. Look, when I gave my 28-6 prediction in the last video, and my feelings and thoughts on the game, just being 100% honest, I knew they were a better team. Watching the game, I'm sitting there just, man, this is even worse than I anticipated. And I was expecting a really bad score that we were this far away possibly from taking a worse beatdown. Because look, 34-10 makes this game sound closer than it actually was. And as I'm jotting my notes down, I can tell you this much. I don't know what film's going to review is going to look like in the next video because normally while I'm doing my notes, I'll have plays that I want to go look at. And the good ones by the Saints, I put a star next to it, and the other ones I don't. This is one of the worst non-star two-star ratios. It's probably it's probably worse than Seattle. I'd actually have to go back and count it and do the math, which I'm not going to do. This was a rough game. It was a rough game to watch. It's going to be a rough game to talk about. It's going to be a rough game to chop up some film on. But first quarter, I started looking at the stats because I knew how bad it was, and it was worse than I thought I knew. Because in the first quarter, the Rams had 26 plays, 99 total yards, net of 86, because we did have a couple negative plays on them, a sack and a tackle for loss. We only had 6 plays for 12 yards net. And with the sack we took, it was actually or 12 yards total. With the sack we took, it was 6 yards net. And that's just the biggest omen of what was going to go on this whole game. It set the tone. It started right then and there in that first quarter. They did what they wanted to do, when they wanted to do it, how they wanted to do it on offense and defense for most of this game, even the last quarter. In the first half, when I was looking at the first half stats, and we're down 20-10, they missed an extra point, and so was not 21-10. But third down conversion, we were at 28%, they're at 50. Red zone, we were at 50%, they're at 66. Turnover margin was even. Sacks were even, both teams with one. Our total yards were 112, theirs was 284. You kind of looking at that going, how are we not losing worse? Penalties, 4 for 18 on us, 3 for 32 for them. And that's one of the reasons why the score wasn't worse, because 2-minute drill, which we ran fairly effectively, that was one of really few good things we did in totality the whole day. But Brian Young, their leading sack leader, their sack leader, gets a blows up Fuaga and gets a sack on Tyler Shuck. Apparently was helmet to helmet. They flagged him for 15-yard roughing the passer penalty. Huge change because instead of 3rd and 19, if the sack stands from our own 32, we're now 1st and 10 from the 11. Next play, we throw the 11-yard touchdown pass, Shuck to Johnson. If that penalty doesn't get called, look, maybe we get the field goal out of it, maybe. But I think that would have been just another example of what we've seen, the frustration the last 4 weeks, where even when we're doing something good, something stupid happens to just stonewall it and kill it, and we get next to nothing or nothing out of it. The one that's a real kill, and you're going, Jesus, time of possession. We had it in the first half, 10 minutes and 22 seconds. They had it 19 minutes and 38 seconds. You're like, man, that's really close to 2-1. 2-1's insane. You shouldn't have a 2-1. It gets worse. We had 6 possessions. We kicked field goal on one, scored a touchdown on one. The other 4 were 3 and outs. Like nothing moving, nothing going. Their 6 possessions. 3 of them were scoring drives for touchdowns. Had 2 punts. Technically, I look at it at 5 possessions because the 6th possession was just one kneel down, let's take it to halftime. They were getting the ball back after the half. You look at the overall numbers for the game after looking at that first half, you're going, man, how can it get any worse? We should be able to climb back in this thing. No, not really. They took that opening drive and just grinded it down our throats all the way down the field and just set the tone for what the second half was going to be. Biggest thing, red zone, they finished the game at 80%. We were at 33%. They got down there, they scored. They scored touchdowns because they didn't kick field goal all day. In fact, the one time they didn't score in the red zone was a field goal they missed. Our turnovers suddenly go to -2. Sacks go to -1 because they grab one. We don't. Total yards, 438 yards for them to 224 for us. They didn't get penalized once in the second half. And we didn't score any in the second half. So they were no longer shooting themselves in the foot and helping us out. And we really couldn't do much of anything. We were 5 for 33. So we basically caught up with them after that slight advantage we had in the first half. Time of possession ended. We had the ball for 16 minutes and 7 seconds. Barely a quarter of football. They were at 43-53. Almost 3-1. In the third quarter, as bad as the first quarter was, in the third quarter, Rams had the ball for 26 plays. We had it for 3. They were 5 for 5 on third downs, 1 for 1 on first down. In that 15 minutes of football, they held it for 13 minutes and 48 seconds. We had it for 1:12. That is the like I've seen some bad losses in my day from the Saints. There's been worse scores. And maybe statistically there's been worse games, but that's some historic stuff, as we're going to see in a little bit. Well, that is a total embarrassment. Like, I knew they were the better football team. I knew they stacked up coaching, scheme, players, depth, all the way down. It's like they're better than we are. That's a team that you look at and go, they're a playoff team for sure. Well, they can make another serious run at the Super Bowl. We're nowhere near that. But boy, they really showed us the difference today. I hope our front office and our coaching staff was paying attention. They're going to have to really, really rethink this whole rebuild development year, whatever they're choosing to call it. We all know what it is. Today made it abundantly clear what it is. Like I said, I picked the Rams to win this 28-6, and I totally underestimated how much better that team was than us. I totally overestimated that how much of the table we couldn't bring to stay competitive in that game. Let's be honest. I'm gonna tell you that team could have hung half 100 on us by the third quarter, probably 70-4 if they really, really wanted to. It seemed to me that after that touchdown in the opening drive in the third quarter, they dialed it back a little bit on offense. They played it not quite so aggressive on defense, kind of letting us, if you want to go down the field and pick up some yards and get some plays, we're fine with that, but we're not going to let you get in the end zone. Explosive plays on the day, and even breaking them down by +10, +20, and +30. First half, we had 5, 3 +10 and 2 +20s. Almost all of that coming on our scoring drives, our 2 scoring drives. Rams had 7, 4 +10, 2 +20, and then the 39, nearly 40-yard touchdown pass to Nakua. Second half, we had 3, 1 +10, 2 +20s. They had 4, 3 +10s, 1 +20. And like I said, that was stuff they kind of broke. I don't think they were really looking to push that ball down the field like they were doing in the first half, where they were attacking on the outside with their passing game, running mostly inside attacks with the running game, and hitting just big playmakers off of that to drop bombs on us. Kind of got away from that, and I think it was by design, because I think if they'd have kept it up, it would have the score would have indicated more than 34-10 how bad we got beaten this game. One thing I do want to look in the film because I could, or in the when all 22 comes out and I'm able to look at the film, is in that second half. We did some things pretty good for a handful of times. At one drive where we had two really nice shuck pitch and catches, one to Shaheed, one to Olave. I think we had about 50 yards plus between the two catches. They were both plus 20. In fact, that was our two plus 20s in the second half. How much of that was we were really doing some good things, or were we in garbage time? In other words, was that legit, or was that just the Rams playing loose until we got into that red zone where they shut us down and we walked out of there with no points after those two big plays? It, part of me doesn't want to look at the film and find out actually and just tell myself, no, we got it at least on two plays and made two legitimate plays. But honestly, I'm scared it was more to do with it being garbage time. Few more not so fun facts from this game, injury wise, two to talk about. Late in the game, Fuaga left. They did mention it on the broadcast with an ankle injury. Saw an ex per Kirk Triplett that Fuaga, apparently they asked him about it after the game. He didn't want to discuss it, but they did say, or Triplett did say in the tweet that he was not in a walking. He was walking around and he wasn't in a boot. So no walking boot. Maybe this is not going to be anything serious, and it was just hey, we're sitting you down because it was late in the game and it was a blowout and it's precaution. Just you're done, and we'll see how it plays out. Jack Stoll, I did not know until I saw it on Twitter that he left with an ankle and he left on a cart. So there's probably not much hope there, but I guess but Tuesday when they talk to the media, we'll probably find out more about both of them. It was a little bit of a historic day for the Saints because that 16-minute, 7-second time of possession, 13th lowest in NFL history. A league that's been around 100, a little over 100 years. All the games played, time of possession of 16 minutes and 7 seconds, 13th lowest. That's per Nick Underhill on Twitter or X, whatever it's called nowadays. The other thing, when I looked up a little bit of the PFF stuff, when their review started coming out, their early review, not much of anything on it. But one thing I was like, man, how bad was the snap count? I know what he guessed it was 2-1. We were out snapped. According to them, we had 41 plays on offense. The Rams had 80. I don't know if I've ever seen in an NFL game where one team out snaps the other team 2-1, 80-40. But then when you almost have a 3-1 time of possession, I'm sort of going, maybe it 2-1 on the snap count was actually not bad. I don't know. But that's the kind of stuff I just don't ever remember seeing. It's an embarrassing, historic day. And I maybe I'll try to look it up tomorrow, but part of me doesn't really want to know. But is that 2-1, 80-41 ratio on snap plays? Is that some type of record NFL wise? I don't know. Real frustration for me. And there is, I guess, some frustration on the embarrassment of today's game. But second time this season, we've had 4 losses in a row. Now, in the last 4 games, we played 3 division winners, New England. Then we went to Chicago, who's not a division leader, but they're a half game out, and they're still a plus 500 team. Then Tampa Bay, and then Los Angeles. You're looking at 3, potentially all 4 of those teams being they're playoff contenders just based off their records and the fact that 3 of them leading their division at the halfway point in the season. Anything can happen. Potentially all 4 of them, I mean, right now have a shot at the playoffs. 2 of those teams were in this exact same boat we're in within the last couple of seasons, New England and Chicago. The other 2, Tampa Bay and Los Angeles, are basically what the Saints used to be. Where, man, you might catch them, they might have a down year or 2. They don't rebuild, they reload, and they're coming right back at you. And they're Tampa Bay has established themselves as a perennial division winner. We're going to the playoffs, possible Super Bowl contender. The Rams definitely have done that in the time since Sean McVay's turned up there. Yeah, so I mean, I just have the frustration the last 4 weeks of watching that, going, could we not find some type of steady improvement? Now realize after those 4 weeks are done and you look back at where those teams are and what they've done, going, four legit teams, definitely three of them, but Chicago maybe finding itself there too at this point in the season. And coming off that Giants win, said it that week and said it a couple times since then, got to continue to see some type of improvement, because I think those 5 weeks to get to that Giants win, we were. And my frustration comes in right now, we're not. It's declining if it's anything. Maybe we're holding steady at best, but it's definitely not improvement. It's like the one thing. It's like I don't care if we were improving week after week, especially rolling into teams like this. In New England, you kind of got it within a score and fooled yourself into believing we had a shot to win at the end of that game, and technically we did. We had the ball with a chance, but they really kind of dominated us at the beginning of that game, and did what they wanted to do when they wanted to do it. Chicago did the same thing to us. Tampa Bay actually let us hang around a little bit, but in the second half, they imposed their will, and just that was that. Today, from the opening kickoff, we had no control over our destiny in this game because there was just nothing we could do about it. As a little brother, I can tell you that was a little brother moment where, look, you can fight as hard as you want to fight. Big brother always got me, though. That was that. That was today. It's kind of the last 3 weeks. It is frustrating. And I'm just tired of seeing it. I mean, I'd like to get back to the point where we were. If you think about, Arizona, Frisco's definitely a better team than us. A brief moment of time for about a quarter and a half in Buffalo, who's also a better team than us. We were on equal footing with them. And I felt like after the Giants win, we've been on less and less equal footing with teams that we've played against. And they're good teams. And in theory, I guess maybe they should put us away like we got put away today. But I don't feel like it. And I don't think this team is quitting. Please don't read that into my comments. Um, I, I I think we're trying. I do think Kellen Moore has them playing. Are they playing at the best of their ability? That's where my frustration comes in. Because if they are, then we don't have enough ability on this roster. We're looking for we're looking for a much longer road ahead of us. If they're not, then I've got frustration in that, going, look, put it all together and play as 53 men, the best of your ability. What do we really have? Because you're running out of time on this season as far as what value you can get out of your development evaluation. Now, I don't know if that was their plan all along, or as we started losing games very early, that became their plan. There's no telling with this organization. This is likely the plan they should have had the whole time. And this goes back also to the last video when trying to explain the point, we should be sellers. We should be sellers. So I also saw Nick Underhill over the weekend talking about Rashid Shaheed. He's saying that he heard, or somebody told him, some source, in this secondhand repeating, but I would trust something he would put out on Twitter. Saints received a third round offer from an AFC team for Shaheed. I'm going, him or anybody else that is not currently under contract for next year, especially if you don't know how much you're going to end up having to pay him to keep him, or risk them walking out the door and getting nothing for them. The state of this team, going, I don't know. I think you've got to make sure you have value at that spot. So you have to know either you're definitely bringing him back under the right terms and not overpaying, or you got to get some solid compensation if you're able to move him. One of those two things has to happen. He's the example because he's the hot name, and he's definitely probably the most tradable. No, he's definitely the most tradable asset we have on this team. But anybody else that comes up, but you got 2 days till the trade deadline. Look, don't hold out for the mega deal that's probably never going to happen. Figure it out because getting more and more on the impression we have more of this roster to turn over than we thought we did when we kicked this season off. 2 days till the trading deadline. You're running out of time. Get this figured out and do what teams, Washington being an example, Chicago at one point was doing it a few seasons ago. Suck it up and be sellers. Give yourself that legit chance to. It's not going to happen in one season, and I think that's apparent to everybody now. Let's try not to make it 3 or 4 seasons because I really don't want to turn into the Giants or the Jets. I'd like to be one of these other teams that went through it for a couple of years, get out of it, and get back to the point where right now we could be a Chicago sitting 5-3, a half game out of your division, looking around, going, as long as we keep getting better and doing things right, we keep giving ourselves a shot going forward. We have not done that really all year, except for maybe the Giants game. And it's very frustrating. So, my cathartic Sunday night rant, whatever this was, getting it out. But, I mean, you can't keep doing this. There's probably not going to be a home game the rest of the season. I mean, there'll be some played in the dome, but I don't. It's to the point where I think you could wind up where some of these franchises were in the same boat we were in, where interest and support is going to start to slide. And we've already had a few of those games already this season, likely to get worse. This is all the stuff I didn't want surrounding the organization while you were doing this, and it's kind of showing up here. So whatever the evaluation process is, whatever the rebuilding process is, they better have this stuff down cold. Otherwise, in the offseason, we're going to be having a totally different conversation. But I would like it to be going, okay, the reset button's been hit. We've already started. We're moving that way. Let's see if we can get some production, some honest evaluation, but dear Lord, above all, some improvement over the back half of this season. So that's it for me tonight. Probably not going to be able to sleep because this one is really bothering me, even though you said I knew. I knew it was going to be rough. I knew it was going to be bad, but I I didn't think we were going to be helpless for 4 quarters, and basically we were. And I'm just a little worried we're going to start being more and more helpless as the season digresses instead of progresses. But hopefully we'll rally the troops. We go to Carolina next week, and that one ain't going to be easy. And we have not played well on the road at all this year, so we'll see how it goes. We'll do some film review. Like I said, I just don't know how much or what. I think we'll probably be looking pretty hard at Chuck, and I am going to look at that 2 minute drill. For those of you I've suggested in the past, Football Merit, a website from young man who's a Division I football player for University of Wyoming. He's had a couple really great videos in there, but one of them he has a part that talks about 2 minute drill. So I'm gonna go back and watch that and compare it to the 2 minute drill we saw today because I felt like we did some pretty good things in it. And then, like I said, probably going to take a hard look at Chuck because that's me for sure, but that's probably what everybody else is really thinking. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about what stands out and you'd want to take a second or third look at on film review. So that's the plan. Then we'll have the Carolina get ready for our video later in the week or at the end of the week. So till I see you next time, I'm Tim. Peace out and who dat.